Hi everybody. I'm sorry I didn't make any videos last week. I've just been kind of busy, so it kind of got forgotten. And one of the things that I've been busy with is trying to find some kind of part-time job. And the reason I'm looking for some kind of part-time job is number one, just kind of to get out of the house and to do something because although I love being an artist and an author, it can get kind of lonely just doing those two things because they're very much solitary activities, and it's hard for me to motivate myself to join social things like clubs or meetings or whatever like that. But if I have a part-time job, then I'll definitely be there. I mean, I'm always reliable for that. So that's kind of partly why I want to get a part-time job. And then the other part is just, we could always use a little bit extra money. I mean, we do fairly well, but you know, there's always stuff that comes up that you could use a little extra money for. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately is looking for some kind of part-time job. And I had an interview this week, and so I thought for my Asperger's blog that I would talk about job interviews and like the stress that comes along with them and how to deal with it, that kind of thing. So for me personally, job interviews and just job hunting in general are really stressful and I hate them, and I really wish that you didn't have to do that, but I'm not sure if that's an Aspie thing or if just everybody hates job interviews and job hunting. But I definitely don't like that. I wish that you could just, decide I'm gonna work there and, that's it. You start, that's it. But unfortunately that's not how it works. You have to, look around for places that need people, and sometimes you have to contact places to see if they're hiring, and that's one thing that I struggle with is having the, I guess, outgoingness to actually pursue job opportunities, to call places or, check around to see if anybody's hiring. So that's something I struggle with. Most of the jobs that I have found in my lifetime, either someone got them for me, like a family member, or I've found the job listings online. And I find that it's easier for me to job hunt online because I can just send an email or send my resume or something like that, and I don't have to actually talk to people and try to, make phone calls and things like that, which I absolutely hate. I hate making phone calls. So anyway, like I said, I did have an interview this past week, and it's for a position that, I mean, it would be really easy, and I think that it would probably, be good for getting me out and just doing something. But I do have a lot of physical problems too, and the main one being my foot issues. So that kind of restricts the jobs that I can do. And this job I interviewed for, I would actually be able to sit part of the time, so it would work out fairly well. But when I went for the interview, which I'll say in the past, whenever I've had interviews, like I always get really nervous beforehand. Sometimes it's not too bad. I just get kind of sick to my stomach and nauseated, and I can't eat and stuff like that. Which that may be normal, but sometimes it's been so bad to the point that I literally like have a panic attack. Or there's actually been times I like was so upset that I had to cancel the interview, and that's always hard to do. And that hasn't happened for a while, but anyone who understands anxiety and how panic attacks really are would probably understand that sometimes it can get you into a really bad place. And this particular interview I went for this week, it wasn't too bad because it's for a company that's, not like a big major fancy schmancy kind of company. And so I didn't feel like the pressure of, if I don't get this position, I'm going to be really, really upset. And I also didn't have the pressure of, if I get this position, will I fail at it? Will I be good enough? Can I do the job the way that they want me to do it? Because, like I said, this position would be fairly easy, so I'm pretty sure anybody could do it. So, So this time I had like the nausea and feeling kind of sick to my stomach, and just, when I'm anxious I get real jittery and stuff like that. So to deal with that, I just, when I know that I'm going to be like that, like, I make sure that, I don't eat much before the interview, because, it can make me feel sicker to my stomach. And I do little things to kind of encourage myself to go through with the interview and to just do my best with it. Like, I promised myself like a little treat or something after the interview is over. Like, for instance, this week, since I didn't eat a lot beforehand, I told myself, if you get through the interview, then, we'll stop and you can get like your favorite meal at wherever you want to. So that's kind of one thing I promised myself. And I also, pretty much anytime I go anywhere that I'm really, really, really nervous, I always listen to some of my absolute favorite music, like on the CD player in our car. And for some reason, listening to my favorite music that I'm really familiar with, it helps calm me down too. And I even, when I got to the place where I was going to interview, like, one of my favorite songs had just started playing. So I went ahead and turned it off, and I was thinking, well, that would be good, because I have, after the interview's over, I can look forward to getting back in the car and hearing my favorite song. So things like that, just, they're little things, but they kind of motivate me to, just get through it and keep going. And when I got to the interview itself, it was kind of funny, actually, because I was supposed to have a first interview, and I did have the first interview, and then they were like, well, you want to hang around for the second interview? And I was like, okay, that's fine. So it's a good thing I didn't know that beforehand. I was actually going to have 2 interviews back to back, because that would have probably wigged me out a lot more. But the interviews themselves, they're not too bad. And generally, I don't think I do horrible in interviews. I think with having Asperger's, it's a fine line between being too honest and giving away too much information, and, not giving away enough. So it's always hard for me to find that middle balance. And so for the most part, I just try to, whatever they say, like when they make polite conversation, which, everybody pretty much does when they first meet somebody, just respond appropriately, be socially conscious, I guess. So I do that. And then once we get to the actual interview itself, when they ask me questions, I do my best to answer them fully, but I don't volunteer a lot of extra information, because I'm the kind of person that, especially if it's an interest that a subject I'm interested in, I could go on and on and on, and I don't think that's necessarily always good in an interview. So that's kind of how I get through job interviews. And I have to say, like, personally, honesty is kind of a tough thing, I think, when you have Asperger's, because I think normal people, when they go to a job interview, they think of things from like a general standpoint, whereas an Aspie may think of it in more of a specific kind of way. And what I mean is, like, the questions like, have you ever stolen from a previous employer? Now, a normal neurotypical person, I think, would probably look at that and they would think of, the real message behind the question, which is, do you think that stealing is okay? Or, are you a person who generally steals? And obviously they would say no. In fact, some would say no even if they have, because they know they're not going to get the job if they tell the truth. But I think an Aspie will take a question like that, have you ever stolen from a previous employer? And sometimes we think it way too in depth. Like, we'll think, well, once I accidentally stole a pen from work because I put it in my pocket and went home and realized I hadn't taken it out of my pocket before I went home. And so some Aspies who are just exceptionally honest and, very detail oriented might actually make the mistake of saying, yes, I've stolen from a previous employer, when really they never had an intention to steal. They never meant to steal, and they probably took it back the very next day, but because in their mind they accidentally took a pen home, then they stole. So things like that, you have to think about the actual what they're trying to find out about with the questions, instead of, being so detail oriented and specific that it may not answer the question they're looking for in the first place, and it may actually make you look bad when you're not really that kind of a person. So I hope that makes sense. But I've noticed that other Aspies seem to have that issue, and in the past I've kind of had issues with being too honest, or maybe sharing things I shouldn't have shared in a job interview that, first of all, like maybe shouldn't be shared with the employer in the first place, because when I get nervous, I also can sometimes kind of prattle on and chatter and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people are like that too. So those are kind of my tips, I guess, for dealing with job interviews. And I haven't had a ton of job interviews in my life, so maybe as I get more experience, I'll learn more things and I can, share those too. So I guess that's about all I want to say. And I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and feel free to share your thoughts and feelings about job interviews or job hunting or anything like that. So, bye!